Welcome to the Dr. Nikki Starr Show, a podcast to support you in your spiritual awakening and personal development. As a spiritual teacher, healer, and intuitive coach, my intention is to empower you to live your ultimate potential and your ultimate life. As a former medical doctor and mystic, my role is to bridge the gap between science and spirituality to support you in understanding more of your multidimensional aspects. I share on a diverse range of topics, and it's all to support your greatest becoming. My mission is to continue reaching millions of people for the healing and awakening of humankind for the creation of the new earth. Thank you for being here. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Dr. Nikki Starr Show. I'm your host, Dr. Nikki Starr, and it's such a pleasure to be here with you today. And I want us to talk about something that's so important and beautiful and bittersweet. And I haven't fully decided on the title yet as I'm recording this, but it's around allowing yourself to change, allowing yourself to evolve, to grow, to upgrade your identity, become who you're really meant to be. And as you know, I often in my copy, in my posts, in my work, I use the phrase, your greatest becoming. Allow yourself to go on the journey to support you in your greatest becoming. Allow yourself to receive the support for your greatest becoming. Because what I know to be true is that our soul incarnated onto this planet, into this human experience to evolve, to grow, to have experiences, to gain wisdom. So every single thing that happens in your life is serving your greatest becoming. There is a divine plan. It's not all random and by accident. And every experience you have is bringing you more and more and more on your path. And you are learning and you are growing and you are becoming and you are evolving. And so what that means is you will regularly need to let go of things that no longer serve you. And this is the bittersweet part, right? It can be bittersweet to let go of things that you once loved and dreams and goals and accomplishments that you once were like, this is the only thing I want. And now that you've arrived, you're like, oh, I think I don't want that anymore. I think that's not for me. Now that's calling me. This new goal, this new dream. And as you know, if you've been following along to with the podcast from the beginning, that's one, that's happened to me multiple times, but that's a big thing of what happened when I left Western medicine for this alternative revolutionary path today of working with people in a multidimensional way, of living my life on my terms, living my new paradigm, my heaven on earth. It required me to let go of everything that I knew. I even stopped blow drying my hair straight. I used to blow dry my hair straight, and I lived in New York City and I had this whole identity. I went to all the best restaurants, the clubs, partying with celebrities, going to all these beautiful events. And it was so in the scene, and that just is not who I am anymore. I don't even drink alcohol anymore. Right. And so I went through a whole identity shift, like in a huge, massive way, to the point of allowing my natural hair, right? All the curls, all the wildness. I don't wear makeup really. Sometimes I might put on a little mascara, but all of that superficiality and materialism kind of went away. And I really started to explore nature and be in nature and allow more of my shamanic essence and my healer essence to come through. And part of that can be disruptive to relationships, right? Like even my whole family lives in New York, but I felt a call at first to move to California, very far away from them. And now even further, I live in Spain in Ibiza. And for me and for certain souls, especially those of us that are here with really big missions and we feel a calling to help humanity, to be a part of the evolution of humanity as a whole, of the planet, to help with the healing and awakening of the planet. It's not just about our selfish needs in terms of
catering to our family or to other people. It's like we think of something so much bigger than ourselves that sometimes can even seem selfish. Like I know one of my grandmothers, she thinks like my life is so selfish. And I'm like, I literally am like focused in my mission from the moment I open my eyes to the second I go to sleep. I am so devoted and committed to my mission to the point that it like fully consumes me. And I love it. Like, I love it. I love writing. I go for walks in nature because I know that's where I activate my channel to receive the words and wisdoms that come through for my posts, for the books that I write, for the offers that I create, for my abundance codes, my ascension codes, my courses, all of that. Even when I'm receiving downloads for clients, that's why I don't do session to session. I do month-long containers, 6 months, a year. I do my group mentorship container that's over a whole year, because evolution can be rapid, of course, and the integration process takes time. So that integration process takes time to integrate all that into your body, make the changes you need to make, the action steps, completely transform yourself, your life. As we go through our identity shifts and upgrades, sometimes it helps us to radically change things. Like radically. So what that could look like is moving across country, moving to a different country, right? It could mean quitting your job to start your business. It could mean deciding to start a business. These like radical moments where we make big changes and we decide, I know what my destiny is. I know that I'm here for my greatest becoming. I'm going to allow myself to change and to dream differently and to go and live whatever experiences I know that I need to live for my greatest becoming, to become the full person that I'm here to become. And remember, nothing is ever lost. It can seem bittersweet when we, even sometimes I feel like every time I've moved house, I've moved so many times. Every time I said goodbye to a house, it was always still bittersweet. Like I even feel a little emotional as I say it, because I think of all the memories and I think of all of the evolutions that happened inside that house, like all of the rituals and all of the meditations and all of the downloads and everything I created in that space. And it's still bittersweet, right? But it's so beautiful. It's so beautiful to have had all of those experiences. I've lived such a full life all around the world that it's like, wow, what a full, beautiful life. Experiencing life, having adventures, meeting all kinds of people, and also receiving all the different activations that the earth has for us. And so, as you know, travel was a big part of my awakening journey. And even with that, there was a decade of my life, more, probably like 12 years or so, where I traveled all around the world. I started in college, and even through med school, I was traveling all around the world. And then when I finished medical school, and travel was a big part of my identity, there was a time where I didn't stay in one place for more than 2 weeks. It was insane. But it was also what my soul wanted. Now, my soul does not want to travel. I'm in my prolific creation era. My time of travel was picking up codes and information. And so honor the different seasons and stages of your life. And then when I felt the calling to move to Malibu, all of that desire for travel went away. And I felt so called to create and share and really be prolific with the courses and the codes and all the different offerings I had. And that's also when I started to teach and guide others who wish to also be in the healing arts, or just to amplify their leadership and their capacity to show up in the world in a way where your energy speaks for itself, and where you can use energy strategy to magnetize and create whatever you want in your life, regardless of your profession. And so I started to create a body of work, because that was the season that it called, that was calling to me, right? And I'm still creating, but it feels like it's almost completing. And I'm sure there may be stuff in the future, but then it feels like another season of my life will open, and then I'll have more of the identity of being a mother, right? And so I always trust in the divine timing. And I recommend that for you too. There's no rush, right? There was the season of my educations, right? Like when I was in college and undergrad and medical school and I was becoming a medical doctor, I was so in that. Like that was my life. That was everything I did was focused on becoming a medical doctor. And then there was a moment that became ripe. And I could sense it. I could sense the identity shift was starting because traveling was starting to change me. And I started to question. So usually we start to question things, and that's good because it shows an expansion of our consciousness. It shows that we are evolving. So we're no longer staying in the same routine when we start questioning things. And so I started to question, is it true that I'm meant to be a doctor? It's maybe about happiness too, not just about health. And I started to think about the whole person. And I started to think about life, not just health, inclusive of health, but not just health. And then I was guided on a whole journey around the world because I had a spiritual awakening. And then it was my era for spiritual awakening and development. And of course, that always continues, just as education always continues, but in a different way, in a different form. And then it was my era of being prolific and sharing my gifts with the world. And I can feel like I'll always do this work, I'm sure. I feel it, but I feel like it will evolve. And it's starting to evolve now more into book writing. So there'll be, there was my season, and I'm sharing my example so you can see yourself within my story, which is you live many different lives within your one life. So give yourself permission to change and evolve, even within your work, even within your relationships. Relationships don't even always stay the same, right? And so I remember when I first started doing healing and transformational work, it started with yoga. And then it moved into coaching, and then more meditation, and then more energy work, and then more of the online space, and then more of facilitating and one-to-one work and group work. And right. And then now it's coming, and then it was the online courses and all the codes. And now it's coming more into book writing. So I feel like there will be this season as the author doing book tours. And there's been the season of the podcast, who knows how long it'll go for, maybe forever, maybe not, right? I just honor what's true in the moment. I can sense things. We all know our destiny on some level. Even I remember when I was living in Malibu, I would hear whispers of like, well, maybe I'm meant to live somewhere with like clear crystalline waters that's like warmer. And then sure enough, I live in Ibiza now with beautiful clear waters that are nothing like the waters in Malibu. Beautiful energy as well, but different. And this feels more in resonance with my soul. And so I had to allow myself to go through all the different changes without making myself wrong, without thinking, oh no, I invested all of that time, that energy, that money. I have to stay being a doctor. No. I love that quote. We're never too old to live the life we always dreamed of. I love that quote of it's never too late to live the life you've always dreamed of, something along this line, right? Because it's true. Some designers, like in the fashion world, they didn't even start their line and collection until they were like into their 40s and 50s because there's the preparation. Medicine was part of my preparation for what I do today. The fact that I know the energy anatomy and how all the different organ systems and systems interface along with the energy system, I literally can help anyone with anything. It's so fascinating. It's so beautiful. And it was essential. It was an essential part to what I shared today. And I bridge science and spirituality. So everything you've ever done, even your jobs when you were younger, they all matter for where you're going. And at the end of your life, you're going to look back and be like, oh my gosh, that made perfect sense. Right? So where is your soul asking you to upgrade identities? Where is your soul saying, hey, it's time for a shift, a makeover, a revolution, a transformation? It's time to do things differently. Maybe you're being called to a course. Maybe you're being called to start a business. Maybe you're being called to move cities. Maybe you're being called to change or transform something. Whatever it is, it's perfect. It's beautiful. Don't resist it and don't force it. There is an organic, natural flow to how things evolve, and there is perfect divine timing. So, for example, when I left Western medicine, if you listen to earlier episodes, I share about this where I had a divine intervention happen where I didn't match into a dermatology program, even though one of the places I interviewed at had an open spot. Like, that's impossible. It matches up based on a ranking system. So I rank all the places I interviewed, and the places rank all the students. And for whatever reason, I didn't match, and there was an open spot. That was the greatest gift that ever happened to me. And it happened in a way where I still had my intern year of medicine to have the experience to be a working doctor in the hospital, to then realize this is not for me. But I didn't fully write it off. I still took the steps. But what I did right after my intern year is I took a one-way ticket to Ibiza. I said, I'm just going to take a break. I'm going to go and travel for 3 months in Europe, and then I'll come back and do research. But what I didn't know is that I would do a yoga teacher training on the last month of my trip. And that would start to shift everything so that when I got back to New York City, I didn't feel like I wanted to do research. I felt like I wanted to teach yoga. And that's what I did. And so organically, the path was revealing itself. I was never rushing. And then within a year, I moved to LA. And so I was just honoring the flow of what was happening. And then I went on a reality show, right? So I even ended up making a bigger impact already within 2 years of leaving Western medicine than I would have if I was just sitting in a hospital or in an office. I still get fan mail from people who are like, I've been following you since you were on Utopia. Thank you so much. And it was a beautiful experience. It was hard, but it was beautiful. And it showed me the power of media as a tool to awaken consciousness and humanity. And then that's when I started to bring more of my social media presence online. And then, now I have the podcast today, but years ago, people were like, you should start a podcast. You should start a podcast. And I was like, no, I feel like I need a TV show. And then the inventions of Reels happened. And so I did my podcast in divine timing. I probably would have more subscribers and viewers and all that stuff if I started back. I think the first time I had an assistant say that to me was like in 2018. It's kind of when podcasts were just becoming popular. So we need to honor our timing. Like, people are going to tell us to do all kinds of things, but who knows? Like, I probably needed a few more codes around energy work and having the different life experiences that I've had since 2018 to now. We're in 2025 now. And so I'm a better, wiser podcast host, teacher, guide, facilitator now than I am back in 2018. So I do trust in the divine timing of things, as I really invite you to as well. But then also remember that if you resist, let's say there's an invitation on your path, there's a calling for you in some way. For example, when I was living in Malibu, I started hearing the call to go check out Miami, to possibly live in Miami. And then I went out one night and I met some people who lived in Ibiza full time. And they were like, oh yeah, people live in Ibiza full time. And I was like, what? And so it was calling me. I felt like they were divine messengers that I met that day. And then it was like, okay, I'm going to go check out Miami and Ibiza to live. And the reason why I could live in Ibiza is because I have an Italian passport. And so I went and I tested it out for myself, and I never left Ibiza basically when I got here. I just moved. I just basically stayed. And I've been here since, and I've been back to the US, I think, a few times. But for the most part, I've been here the past 2.5 years. But I resisted leaving Malibu. I remember 6 months or so before I actually left, I got it said like go to Malibu, it said go to Miami for New Year's to see about living there. And I didn't listen. I just stayed in Malibu that New Year's. And so my life started to dismantle because I wasn't listening. So the house I lived in, all of a sudden there was a big rainstorm and it had a leak and then mold formed. So I had to move. I found another place, but the energy and things weren't flowing. My work wasn't flowing as well. I booked a flight to go and, move out of that place. I was 6 months in that place. I packed up all my things, put them in storage, and I delayed my flight by a week because I was resisting it and I got stung by a stingray. And that was medicine to like, move it, lady. Like, it's time to leave. And sure enough, everything opened up when I got here. I found love. I found such easy opportunities, like places to live when everyone's always complaining about a housing shortage. It's just like my whole path opened up and everything shifted. And I love it here. This feels like home even more than Malibu does. And so I'm sharing this as a reminder to you to make the changes that you need and want to make, that your soul is whispering to you, and not to resist it, because sometimes if you resist the natural evolution that's happening, you can get pushed by pain. So what I mean by that is sometimes something will happen in your life that feels really tragic or sudden, even disease, so that you could change your life. Because unfortunately, even though the only constant that is change in life is change. So the only constant in life is change. And even though that is true, humans have this strange, not all humans, but most, 99% of humans stay stuck in their ways. They're creatures of habit. The virus of procrastination and laziness can invade a person and they don't change. They don't make the changes, the choices. They don't go and see the world. They don't go and start the business, explore, expand. And then what happens is that stagnation and stasis can develop into disease or something painful like a leak in your house or whatever, to make you move, to make you change. And so if you want to avoid suffering, honor the divine timing. Listen to your intuition. Make the change. Make the identity upgrade. Make the shift. Allow yourself to change, evolve. Allow yourself to let go of what's not serving you, and allow yourself to step into the new opportunities, even if they might feel scary. Sometimes it's like investing into a program can feel scary. Investing into a coach, let's say, for example, in my world, I've had clients who were following me for years before they said yes and came into a one-to-one container or a group program or whatever. And it's like, had they just done it sooner, they would already be where they are, and they had to endure some suffering until they finally decided to say yes. Whereas there's some clients who find me and within a few weeks, they're already signed into a container with me. And then they move so fast, like lightning. And so that's the thing. It's like, what are you procrastinating on? And can you just allow what wants to happen? Not resist it, not force it, but allow and surrender to the divine flow. Surrender to your highest self. Surrender and listen to and follow your intuitive guidance. And you can know what that is by what's exciting you, what's lighting you up, what's pulling you, attracting you, calling to you. Where do you need to explore, want to explore? What's next for you? And the true measure of if we're even living is by our dreams, our goals, our desires, not to get complacent. Of course, always be grateful, and we can be content, and we can be happy and fulfilled where we are, and we can still have dreams for how we'd like to show up in the world in a bigger way, in a beautiful way, to support the healing and awakening of humankind and the evolution of the planet and the earth. And we're so lucky we have this opportunity, and that we have free will, and we get to create and design and live our ultimate life. And so, of course, connect with me. If you love support, if you'd love to go on a journey together, I would love to support you in your process of transformation, in your identity upgrade, in all the changes, and also in anything you need to let go of so that you can step into this next chapter that's calling you. Thank you so much for tuning in. Big kiss to you, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Dr. Nikki Starr Show. Please like this podcast and share it with anyone you feel would benefit. Subscribe to the podcast to receive bonus content, and remember, every Monday the video version goes live on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for being on the ascension path with me and for doing this great work.